But if you ask them, hey, did you have a good time or not? They're going to clearly remember if they did or they didn't. Either way, they're going to remember.
Yeah.
That's directly tied to entertainment.
You were lost into me. You were lost into me.
All right, welcome. We're back with another episode of the Weddings and Wine podcast. I am your host, DJ Chosen, and today, man, I can't even say I have a special guest. I feel like that's not big enough. That's not grand enough. I have the man in here, the legend, family in here, Mr. Jonny Black. How's it going, Johnny?
Oh, man, thank you for that kind intro. It's going well, man. I'm excited to be here, man. I really am. Looking forward to it.
Man, so, when I was shopping for wine earlier, I was trying to figure out, like, what is, like, this got to be, like, something that represents who you are just as a boss, right? Like, this can't just be some regular, you know what I mean? No disrespect. Can't just be no regular, wine that they have, at the nice fancy. This got to be like some gangster wine, you know what I mean? Like, this got to be different. So I was trying to figure out like what I can get. And when I went to the store, I was like, oh, Snoop.
Yeah, that's the one.
Gotta get some Snoop Dogg. So we're gonna roll with the Snoop. I'm gonna get ready to pour the wine, but we're gonna start from the top, man. Just tell me a little bit about your back. We got a whole lot of stuff to talk about.
For sure.
But tell me a little bit about your backstory and just how you got into DJing, how you got into the wedding industry.
No doubt, man. By the way, that Snoop Dogg Cali Red, that's a great choice. I drink that at the house all the time. That's the one. Nah, man. So as far as my story goes, man, I started DJing back in 2003. So coming up on 2 decades of turning up.
That's classic, man.
Yeah, man. It's been a fun journey. I mean, I look back on it. I'm like, wow, I've been doing something like 20 years and it's nuts. But to this day, man, I still love, every minute of it. I enjoy the couples and clients that we've made or met along the way. The awesome relationships that I've created, and thank you, sir, that I've created with people like yourself, man, amazing DJs and plenty of other guys out there who we've had the pleasure of working with. And I mean, it's just been a really fun deal, man. As far as how I got into DJing and specifically weddings. So I graduated high school in 2003, and basically when I graduated high school, man, I knew that I wasn't going to go to college, right? And I'm not against college by any means, but I just knew that wasn't going to be my journey. But my mother, she's very like pro education. You better do something. You're not going to be a bum type of mom.
Yeah.
And she said, you're going to go to college or you're going to get a job. That's it. And I said, well, fine, I'll go to college. It's funny now, not funny then, but I ended up enrolling in HCC, and I literally attended for 4 days.
Okay.
Yeah, so I probably hold the record for the shortest HCC career. But I went for 4 days. I confirmed that it in fact wasn't for me. Mom said, well, you have like 3 months to figure something out, or you're gonna have to like go somewhere, not here. I said, okay, and I'd always been into music, just growing up culturally, Colombian. We party a lot, always family parties, always music, always. So I knew I loved music. And even in high school, man, like back then, when Napster was around, I was a guy that had all the burned CDs, from Napster and all that. Yeah, so music was always a thing. I just wasn't a DJ yet.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? Well, I'm gonna get serious about this. I'm gonna become a DJ. Let's see what happens. And that's where the journey started, man. And I'm sure, I ruined a lot of people's parties, back then, just not knowing what to do. But that's a part of the journey. Fast forward to 2006, I believe, or somewhere around there. One of my brother's buddies was getting married. And he told my brother, he said, hey, man, you think your brother, myself, would want to DJ my wedding? And my brother says, well, I don't know, I'll ask him. So he asked me, and I'd never done a wedding. I don't think I'd ever been to a wedding, but of course I said, yeah, I'll do your wedding.
Of course. I'm getting paid.
Of course. And so I did his wedding. I'm sure by our standards today, like I ruined his wedding. But but they loved it. Like they were happy. They didn't know any better, and I'm sure the dancing part was fun. Everything else was probably terrible. But at that point, that light bulb kind of went on, and I was like, hey, you know what? This can actually be something if I commit to learning how to do this properly. Yeah. And from there, the journey kind of started, man, and here we are.
So the way that I've kind of approached my company is, you know, as of right now, I'm a singleton. You know what I mean? Like I we talk about time and stuff all the time.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't even have time to take on a whole, crew of DJs. But you have done it. And you have not only done it, but done it successfully, right? Like you have, you know, grown DJs into, from nothing to something, grown DJs into, notable names out in Houston. And it's just, created your company to be one of the top companies, in the greater Houston area, if not, in the state. 500 plus reviews, by the way.
Thank you.
Just all the accolades, all the accolades.
Thank you. Thank you.
But just, what kind of made you go from that wedding that you did, of saying like, hey, like I'm gonna, progress this to a full blown company where, I have other DJs opposed to just staying by yourself?
Yeah. Thank you, man. And thank you I love that question. And then thank you for the kind words too. Man, so I want to say 2008 or maybe 2009. I'm DJing a Colombian festival. I run into one of my buddies that I went to high school with, and turns out that he's a wedding DJ here locally. He has a business partner at the time, and he's like, "Hey, man, have you ever done weddings?" And I'm like, "Actually, that's what I'm. Yeah, that's what I'm. I'm so glad you asked." And so he was like, "Well, man, let's chop it up this upcoming week. Let's see what we can make happen." I said, "All right, cool." So I told my wife about it, and she's like, "So you're gonna go work for someone?" I said, "Most likely, yeah. And if it makes sense, yeah, I think it'd be a great place for me to go." I said, "But let me meet with these guys first and see, what they're talking about, what they have to offer." And so, long story short, I ended up joining their team, and it was a phenomenal experience. I learned a lot, man. I learned a lot of things to do. I learned a lot of things not to do, which is just as important. But one thing that I will say, and I always say this, a big part of the vision came from being on that team because I was exposed to things that I'd never seen before. Things like uplighting. Now, when I say uplighting, in the world we're in today, we all have the really cool, fancy LED lights, and you push a button. What I'm talking about uplighting was Parkan lights with gels, and so the client would say, "Hey, I want amber lighting." We'd have to get the amber gels and insert them. I mean, it was a different time, but just I'd never been to events that had uplighting. I didn't know what a custom monogram. I didn't know any of those things. And through that company, I was exposed to that, and I said, "Man, this is just a really cool deal." And that really kind of got me even more passionate about, hey, you know what? I really want to do my best to master this because there's a big opportunity. Full transparency, I knew that I wasn't going to be at that company forever, but I did plan to be there for a while. Life happened, and I ended up being, let go from that company. And in all honesty, this is now 15 years later. There's no hard feelings, but I honestly feel like the best thing that happened to me was being let go of from that company because it pushed everything up. It was like, hey, I had this timeline of maybe in a few years, maybe, as an entrepreneur, we're always waiting for that right moment. And the truth is that there's never a right moment. The right moment is now, because if you wait for the stars to align, the stars rarely align. So if you're going to do it, just dive into it now, because otherwise you're going to watch the parade go by. And so anyway, man, I was pushed into that situation where it was like, hey, you're going to have to do it now. And that's what really got things going, man.
As you were talking, I was thinking about how you were saying you were let go, and I was like, man, Steve Jobs was let go, right? And so, you know what I mean? Like, I think there's those times we've heard the story about these, legendary characters in history that have kind of gone through these tough times, and then they found a way to just excel above and beyond. So
Yeah.
I think that's pretty dope.
Thank you, man. I mean, I'm no Steve Jobs by any means, but yeah, man, it's like I said, it was a great experience. I don't always do this. I'm not gonna lie and be like, oh yes, but I try to, and I encourage people to um, like wholeheartedly try to take negative situations and make them positive ones. In that moment when I was let go, yes, of course I was upset. I was now jobless. But very shortly after, say, you know what, this is an opportunity to go and actually do what it is that I've been envisioning. And then also too, I'm sorry, I want to piggyback to this. You asked me about growing the team. Being honest, that's another place where I was exposed to that. That particular company, they had DJs on staff, and it was a full blown DJ team, and I'd never been exposed to that. And so for me, having that exposure to all the awesome things that were happening, as well as the things that I didn't like and didn't agree with, which is ultimately why I got fired, because I was very vocal, and I shouldn't have been. I recognize that I was out of line, but I can't change who I am the same way you can't change who you are.
Yeah.
And being vocal about the things that I didn't agree with were ultimately what I feel that have allowed us to achieve the success that we have up to this point. You know, building a team, building it a certain way, standing behind certain, beliefs and principles. And so anyway, man, that whole experience is where it kind of provided the platform to get everything else, rocking and rolling.
So when I first saw Jonny Black Productions, it was probably it was a picture, and we've talked about this before. It was a picture of like six fly guys. One of them had on shades.
Hollywood.
Shout out to Hollywood.
That's my boy. Yes, sir.
And people had back then the technology has changed so much, right? But everybody had the DDJ-SX, and one of them, if not all of them, I can't remember the details, but like one of them that was out front for sure was like all gold, and I was like, what is this? I was like, if I ever become a DJ, like I can't compete with this. Look at these guys,
Yeah.
right? And
Thank
so you were, creating a company that was talented and valuable, and so I want to kind of dive into to that a little bit. A lot of times when we look at weddings.
Mm-hmm.
Or even when couples look at weddings, DJ is not the first thing on their list. Now, my personal opinion is it shouldn't be, right? The first thing that you should be locking down, if it's not a wedding planner, it should be, the venue, right? Like if you don't have a place to have a wedding, then you can't have a wedding.
There's no wedding.
Right? There's no wedding. So you should be locking down your venue. If you're using a planner or, someone to help you find a venue, cool. But DJ, in my opinion, should be pretty up there.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course.
And so my question to you is like, with having the type of, valuable, excellent company that you have, why do you think more couples don't kind of recognize the value of, DJs as a whole?
For sure, man. I think it's simple. I think you don't know what you don't know. I'll give you an example, and I didn't make this up. I've heard this, and I adopted it since. But watch this. Have you ever bought a Ferrari before?
I have not.
Neither have I, right? So if you and I walk onto the lot of the Ferraris where they sell them, what questions are you and I going to ask? How much is it? That's probably it, because we don't know what else to ask.
Yeah.
Now, the person who's on their fifth Ferrari, when they walk onto that Ferrari lot, they're not going to ask how much it is per se up front. They're going to ask certain questions about, for the example, what's the XYZ engine? What are the specs on the brakes? Is it this type of brakes or this type of brakes? Is it this type of features or not? So I think it's just the not knowing factor. I think it's that most couples have a hard time connecting the dots in terms of what their guests are going to remember from their wedding day. This is a fact. Your guests are going to remember either how much fun they had or how much fun they didn't have. If you go ask, that couple who attended a wedding a month ago, and you say, for the example, hey, Johnny and Veronica, you guys attended, Oliver and Brittany's wedding. What color were their flowers? I guarantee you that couple that attended will not know or remember what color their flowers were.
Yeah.
This is not a takeaway from the florist, but this is an example. If they say, hey, what was the appetizers? They're probably going to be like, oh, I don't know. They were really good, but I don't remember. But if you ask them, hey, did you have a good time or not? They're going to clearly remember if they did or they didn't. Either way, they're going to remember.
Yeah.
That's directly tied to entertainment. It doesn't have to be a DJ per se. Now, we're DJs. Yes, we're biased. It's all good. But the reality of it is that it's tied to entertainment. If you're not hiring a DJ, no problem. Hire a band. Hire whatever entertainment you want. But just know and understand that your guests are going to ultimately rate your wedding, how fun or not fun was it, based on that entertainment. So I think when couples become educated in that and they get to really understand, oh man, like this one person or this DJ is going to have that much impact on my wedding. Okay, you know what? Let me take this a little bit more seriously. Let me spend a little bit more time in doing research. Let me not wait till 3 months before the wedding to say, oh yeah, we need a DJ. No, let me prioritize this the way that I prioritize other vendors. That should be, like, for example, you could say the same thing about photography. Hey, at the end of the day, 20 years from now, you're going to pull up that photo album, and that's how you're going to relive, your wedding day through photography. So choose wisely, right? Like we all have iPhones, but you don't want us with your iPhone shooting your wedding. It's not the same thing. You want a professional, right? So I mean, it's kind of that. And I'll tell you what, man. Funny. This is probably maybe a good segue. About professionals and not professionals. Have you seen that that Spotify thing? Did you see that link you sent me in detail? I know you saw it, but what do you think about that?
So,
because it's just, I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but in essence, it's the same thing. Like, you wouldn't hire a photographer with an iPhone, or you wouldn't hire your cousin with an iPhone to go shoot your wedding, yet Spotify's offering something along those lines, right?
Yeah. And
Tell us more.
We're gonna dive into it. So I have a segment. It's called Hot Topics, right?
Oh, did I just mess that up?
No. You didn't mess up anything. We diving into it early. I like this. So the hot topic now is AI DJs, right?
Crazy.
And so to give a little background of what Johnny is talking about, Spotify as of today is getting ready, if they haven't already dropped, a service to where you pretty much have an AI type DJ or DJ on your phone. And what this does is it talks back to you. I think it has a name or something like that, and it talks back to you, and it will suggest songs and play songs that you like, that back in 2010 and all of that kind of stuff. And from my understanding, Apple is getting ready to come out with their iOS 17. They're not necessarily going to have the same thing, but they've already had like this technology on the computer side, not the cell phone side,
right,
to where it like automatically crossfades. So that means that as one song is playing, it just automatically like blends into the next song, right?
Yep.
And so these are things that don't necessarily work as well as having a real DJ. But I'm very interested to see your take on, like, what do you think, this is going to have on the wedding industry? Because, there are already some people out there that's just like, hey, I don't necessarily, need to hire a DJ, or I don't have to have a DJ.
Correct.
I can just put on this playlist and go, and, we can just, go all night off of my playlist.
For sure. Man, I think it's simple. I don't feel threatened at all by this. I believe that the people or clients or couples, or really clients in general, because this is going to apply also to like the proms that we do, or the house parties, or whatever it may be, or the nightclubs.
Yeah.
The people or the client who doesn't see the value in having a live entertainer, and for the sake of what it is, we are DJs, but we're so much more than that. Like, I try not to call myself a DJ when possible. I'm an entertainer, just like you. Like, I've seen you getting busy many times. Like, dude, we're DJs is just back there spinning records. I'm not dissing that at all because that's a huge part of just the culture that we're a part of and all that. But in terms of what we do, man, it's entertaining. It's that thing I've seen you do a million times where you do the circle and you get the couple and everybody's telling them how much they love them. But like that's entertainment. You know, getting the guest that you know, that one guest that said, hey, you know what, I'm probably not going to dance tonight. And then at the end of the night, the couple goes up to you and says, hey, you know, my Uncle Johnny never dances and he was going to dance for all night long. That happens because of us being entertainers. So is a phone or a technology going to take that away? Absolutely not, because that human element, that intuition, that professional entertainer being there in the moment, reading the crowd, making that connection, technology is never going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a cool thing. By the way, Spotify, if you're watching, I love Spotify. Like, I love Spotify. Spotify has a crossfade thing too. Like, I'm Mr. Spotify. I listen to all of my podcasts. I have a million different playlists for my mood. I have my hip hop. I have my ski mask hip hop. I have my, you know, my Spanish, my everything. But at the end of the day, man, like, it cannot compare to a professional who's there reading the room, reading the vibe, and making it happen. So it's a cool tool. You know, some people may go with it, but at the end of the day, I feel that the clients who are going to be for us are going to be for us because they appreciate what we do and what we bring to the table, as opposed to just hitting shuffle on the Spotify or whatever.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I mean, you know, it's a cool thing to have, but you can't replace. You can't replace that human element. And we do so much more than just play music. A lot of times, you know, 90% of the times I don't even play the full song.
Can't.
And so, you know what I mean? Like, just having that ability to know when to change a song, when to mix it, when to blend, opposed to just like, hey, this song is about to end. Let me, you know, mix it in with some, you know, song that you liked from 2010. Like, that's not.
And here's another one too, man. And I don't know if this happens to you or not, but for me, like, I have like two separate tastes of music, right? Like, my wife says I have horrible taste in music, and I feel like I do. No, I really do. Like, my person, like, when I'm in the car driving, the stuff that I'll play, most people are gonna be like, dog, like, you enjoy that? But I really do, because
You got to give me an example now. We're all curious.
no, well, for instance, like, you'll appreciate it, but
Okay.
like, I use my wife's example. Like, I have my 90s East Coast hip hop where it's like, it's Mobb Deep, it's Onyx, it's the stuff, give me the ski mask.
Yeah.
But so for the example from my wife, she's like, I can't even like shake my shoulders to this. So now that's just one example.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like, man, it's there's no way technology. So in that scenario, like, if I hit shuffle on it, like, can you imagine a party at my house or your house, whatever, and all of a sudden, like, you know, I don't know, Protect Your Neck comes on, like, that's not a party song. That's a song you jam in the car. So how are you going to differentiate? It's just too much to where it all goes back to that human element, man. Like, having a DJ there that's going to say, hey, you know what, my taste as an individual do not matter. What matters is what this room is vibing to and feeling. It happens to us at the weddings all the time. You would agree. We play songs that sometimes are like, man, I can't believe I'm playing this. But you look at the dance floor and it's 50 people
Everybody
out there
loves it.
going nuts. Hey, I'm gonna play it all day because at the end of the day, I'm here to entertain. So I think it just presents too many challenges, man. And like you said, like, technology is not going to replace that human factor. Is what it ultimately comes down to.
Yeah. I had it. It reminds me of a wedding that I did not too long ago, and a lot of the people were from the Bay Area.
There you go.
And man, to
And with
be
that
honest,
E40, baby.
That's the only person I knew. It was E40. It was too short.
A little too short. Hit him with that. Got 5 on it. You got to do it.
But it was such a niche group to where they had all of these songs that they had been jamming since like high school probably, that I knew nothing about, because culturally, like, from Texas, that wasn't our vibe. Same way, you know,
Most
if I
City
was playing
Don or-
Zero or, you know, Slim Thug or something, they probably weren't jamming it out there. And so, you know, you have those regional things that even kind of come into play to where,
course.
you know, you're at a wedding and you may have different cities or whatever in the room, and, you know, AI is not going to be able to pick up on that, man. So
It's a cool feature, but it's not. Nah.
yeah, it's great for the car.
There
It's
you
great
go.
for the car. So y'all remember that. So I want to get back to kind of talking about the value of the DJ
Yeah,
at weddings in general. And so, we were talking about, the just couples being informed,
yeah.
and I want to know the your perspective on the part that DJs kind of play in, our own value. And I ask that because, sometimes, um, even today, like I'll have, some people that'll reach out, and it's like, hey, I got this wedding, next month, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what? You know what I mean? Like I've been booked for next month,
Yeah.
like a while ago, and it's I think that sometimes it's like, hey, we just need somebody or whatever. And granted, there's those cases to where, a DJ has dropped out
Of
or whatever the
course.
case might be. But I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about just in general, the part that we play. How big of a part do you think that we play in our own value and just presenting that out to, not only clients but just the wedding industry, the planners, the venues,
Hmm.
just letting them know, or presenting ourselves in a way to where they understand the value.
Yeah, man. I feel like it kind of goes back to that same kind of old cliche of knowing your worth and knowing what you bring to the table. And it also goes hand in hand with educating that whether it's that couple, that venue owner, that wedding vendor. Um, it's not opinion based. It's a fact. Like your wedding day can go on if certain vendors decide not to show up. If your entertainment decides not to show up, you're not gonna have like a wedding day, or you're not gonna. I mean, it's gonna be like a
Not gonna be a
dinner.
great day. Yeah.
Exactly. So our role is super, super, super important in that, man. And we see it all the time, right? And I feel like we've all been there to a degree. Like for myself, I'll go back to when I first got into this. Um, Man, I didn't have the experience. I didn't have the skill set. I didn't have that arsenal of, wedding entertainment skills, at my hands and fingertips. And so my rates reflected that. You were getting a 20-year-old kid at the time who didn't have much experience, who barely had a sound system that kind of sort of worked most of the time,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
these things, right? But when we fast forward to what we're doing today, it's like, hey, you know what? We're not for everyone. Not everyone will see our value, but the people that do, that's who we're for. And those are the people that value it. Like you said, the person that calls and says, hey, my wedding is next month, unless they had a scenario where like their entertainment left them high and dry or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
if that's not a scenario and they just waited because they just waited, then this is not at the top of their priority list, and that's okay. It just means that we're probably not the company for them.
Yeah.
They're probably the couple who would benefit from renting a speaker, plugging up that software, and hitting
Uh huh.
shuffle, and for them it may be just the same. So I think it all goes back to what I said at the beginning, man. Just knowing your worth, knowing what you bring to the table, and also being able to present that. That's another one too. Like, a lot of guys will say, "Hey, man, I have all this value and I want to charge this much." Great, but if you can't put that into words and show and explain and literally show that value, it's gonna be hard to do, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I mean, it's tough, as you grow, or even you want to grow, to start to, find a way to exhibit that value, right? Or even just like in my case, to where, I had already exhibited a certain amount of growth before, I went out on my own. It's hard to say, like, I'm worth this much,
Yep.
if I have nothing behind me to show and prove that me on my own or this company or whatever can actually give you what you want. So I have to, be humble enough to take a few steps back and say, hey, like, yes, I can do your wedding, and even though I'm not charging you what I want to charge you at this
Yeah,
time, like, I know that I'm gonna get there.
for sure.
And so, yeah, I think that's beneficial. You talked about, 20 plus years in the game now, and just the wealth of knowledge, obviously, that you've built up, as a business owner, as an entertainer, is expansive, right? What is
Thank you.
one of the main things that you would kind of give to couples to say, hey, when you are shopping for a DJ, wherever you are in, New York or Nebraska or Florida or wherever, or in Texas, um, you know, what should they be looking for when they're shopping for a wedding DJ?
Yeah. I wouldn't say there's just one thing specifically, but there's a few things to look for, and if most of these boxes check, then it makes sense to take that next step, right? You mentioned it earlier, the reputation. So reputation, like, you can tell them how good you are. I can tell them how good I am all day, but that's just what we're saying. It's what are other people saying. So how do we show that? Through reviews, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
I don't keep up with the number exactly, but yes, I think between the popular sites, Wedding Wire, The Knot, Facebook, Google, I think we're a little bit over 800 now, right?
Ooh,
Yeah,
I'm 300 short, y'all.
yeah. But also too. By the way, I'll take this opportunity to say, I'm humble enough to recognize that I, Johnny, do not have 800 plus reviews. My team and the team, throughout the years, some guys have come, some guys have left. Some guys, I feel that, will always be a phone call away. You're doing your own thing, and I'm so happy for you, by the way. But I know that if I'm like, yo, bro, can you cover this? If you can, you'll be like, shit, I'm there. Okay, so it's a collab. It's what do you say, collective effort. So it's not myself. It's all the guys who've been here at a certain point and who've swung for the fences and really strive to offer those couples, the experience of their lifetime. That's where those come from, right? So I think being able to showcase that, like, that's not the above all. But if we can say, hey, look, like, we didn't start doing this like 20 minutes ago. We have a track record. By the way, here's this to look at. That's one. The other thing is, your website, your social media. These are not the only thing, but they're things that couples should look at, and a website will tell you a lot about that individual. A well put together website where it looks, your website is a reflection of your body of work. So if it's a website that looks outdated, that looks cluttered, that looks, it doesn't mean that's 100%, but you're probably signing up for a service that may be a little outdated and not as aesthetically pleasing, right? So on the positive side of things, look for a website that you like, that you're like, hey, this looks nice and clean. Or whatever your, as a couple, whatever your vision is of the things that you like, look for a website and social media that reflects that.
I'll pause you right there just because, and I don't want to throw you off. Remember your third thing.
I got you.
But a website, guys, is so important because since I've known you, you probably have changed your website at least a good 3-4 times,
for sure.
right? And at first, I was like, you're already getting booked. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, but just the effort to go higher with it,
yep.
And to go higher and go higher, shows that you care about what you're actually presenting to, your clients. And if you care about it, before you even meet them, if you care about it before you even play a single record, what is that experience going to be like when you actually do, bring them into the office? What is that experience going to be like when you do actually, show up, on wedding day? And so, I think that is, definitely a nice gem that you threw out there.
For sure. Thank you.
We talk a lot about, websites and stuff all the time, representing businesses and stuff. And obviously everybody isn't, there to, or every business doesn't have enough resources or whatever to start off with the A1 website. It's something that you could work up to. But
sure.
I think that, it is a representation of, as you start to grow, as you start to do more events, clients should see that growth is happening, that service or that level of care and consideration is going to be there.
For sure, man. For sure. And real quick to add to that, yes, I think you and I met 2016, I believe.
I'm terrible with memory, so
I believe I'm
probably, it sounds about right.
Yeah, no. I'll check paperwork, but I'm like 99% it was 2016. when we met at that Starbucks on Highway 6, and like,
Shout out to
there
Starbucks.
you go. But yeah, man, since then, website has evolved, and it will continue to do so, because I mean, it's just simple. What works today doesn't necessarily mean it's going to continue to work in 3 years or four, or whatever the math may be. So always, kind of revamping a little bit and just keeping up with. I don't want to say trends. I hate the word trends. I feel like trends is something like, well, it is. It's going to change often. So it's not a trend, but it's keeping up with what is maybe appealing to your client base, whatever that may be. I'll give you another one, man. So we're also always looking for ways to improve the experience for the couple or client. One thing that we added, I'd say maybe about 2.5 years ago, like now our client can go on to their very own portal. They log in, they can see everything. They can see what their balance is, how many payments they've made.
Yeah.
They can see all the details of that are included within their coverage. They can go in and select their party music, their timelines. So, did we
and
reinvent?
that's different. That's a different level of service
Yeah.
from, and that's no disrespect to anyone, but that's a different level of service from, the guy that's just like, hey, I'm gonna forward you this, sheet of paper, or can I meet you to get you to sign this sheet of
Yep.
paper,
Yep. Yep.
this contract or whatever, and then I'm gonna call you on the phone and I'm gonna write down every single song that you want, or you know what I mean? Like that's a different level of service.
100%. And for us, man, it's at the forefront is to make the client's experience pleasant, enjoyable, and also convenient. Right. I'll give you another one that goes along with that. As far as how change is important. Prior to the pandemic, we had an office. We've had an office. We launched officially June 8th of 2011. Had an office since day one, all the way through pandemic officially hit like the weekend of March 14th of 2020.
Yeah.
We had full calendar, and then after that, just the world stopped. So we ended up letting go of the office we had because obviously, like, the world was stopped. It was okay.
Yeah.
When business finally picked up, we saw that the virtual meeting, whether it's Zoom or whatever, Google, was something that was convenient. We said, well, let's give this a shot and see if people kind of ask for that in-person meeting. We'll go back, we'll get our office back, and we'll go back to how it was before. But if they don't, maybe this could be something new. Since the weekend of March 14th, 2020, I haven't taken an in-person meeting. We let go of our office, and everything we do now is via Zoom.
Yep.
If you would have told me that prior to the pandemic, hey, you know what? Do away with your office, only do it via Zoom, I'd have said, you're crazy. We have to have that face to face. I have to be able to shake your hand.
Yeah.
No, the world shifted and we had to shift with it. Now, there's people that have offices today. Great, good for them. I don't think I'll ever go back to having an office for my DJ business because we can do the same exact thing and even more. I'll give you the example. For that couple, let's say like you and Brittany, who are always on the go. You guys are busy. You have a podcast. You have your full-time job. So does she. She has another business. You're running around, and the only time that you can possibly take a meeting with somebody is at 9 p.m. Well, guess what? We can do that virtually. At 9 p.m., you can be here at the convenience of your studio. I can be in my home office, and we can meet at your convenience. Is somebody going to drive out to your place of business at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday night? Probably not.
Probably not.
Maybe, but probably not. So those are just ways that we really try to understand, hey, how do we make this product better? Well, let's make these changes. So the website, the accommodating meetings, those are all things that are important. The portal, those are all things that, again, we try to really incorporate to make that experience better. So now we've talked about reviews. We've talked about making the client's overall experience just really awesome. So I would say those are things to look for that couple. Like, it doesn't mean if they have all this, that's your only shot, but it means that, hey, you know what? Like, this is a well put together operation. Maybe it's worth like at least taking the next step and setting up a time to chat, understanding what they have and all that, man. But I think that's where the magic happens, man, through those things.
Now, at this point, we're gonna pivot a little bit, and this is why, on the personal level, I was super excited about having you here because, you have the ability, the unique ability to not only impact the couple as they are getting ready to start their life together, prior to their wedding date and obviously on their wedding date.
Correct.
But now you have the ability to impact couples after they get married. And so we're gonna pivot straight on out of DJ Jonny Black to Mr. Jonny Black in real estate.
Yes.
How are you, sir?
Well, thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Oh man. So tell me a little bit, tell the world a little bit about, what you're doing, and just, all of the ways that you can kind of, help and assist couples as they're getting ready to, start their lives together.
You just used the word that for me really ties everything in, man. And I'm gonna make a quick reference to the weddings, but it'll make sense. What I love the most about being a part of weddings, it's at the end of the night. This couple who you've been working with over the several months, you made, or maybe not entirely you, but you had a big part of making their vision come to life.
Yeah.
They have that last private dance. They're about to go out and have their send off. Before they do that send off, we go on a dance floor. We shake their hand and we try to go in for the hug. Most of the time they hug us, and you hug this bride and she's sweaty, and you hug the groom and he's drenched in sweat, and as unpleasant,
Jacket off and all of that.
as
Yeah.
unpleasant as that sounds, that's the best thing in the world. Why? Because mission accomplished. We were able to help. That's the word.
Yeah.
That couple create, or not to create. We were able to make their vision of their wedding day come to life and make it amazing. Okay. What I like about real estate is that it's a very similar feeling when we're at that closing table where we get to help that client. Not necessarily is it always going to be a couple. It can be a couple, it could be a family, it could be anybody. But we're at that closing table. We've been working with them for the last, couple months in finding the right property, going through the, roller coaster of the process, the submitting, your financial details, your credit, your inspections, your appraisals, this whole roller coaster. And we're finally at the closing table. They sign, it's official. They get the keys to their new home, or they sold the home they were trying to sell. And it's a milestone moment for them. And it's not the same sweaty hug that we get at the weddings, but it's the equivalent, man, because we were able to help them make that happen. So even though real estate and weddings may not have a whole lot in common, for me, those two things are a common denominator, and it's being able to help people achieve, that goal, whether it's making their wedding, perfect wedding come to life, or whether it's home ownership or selling a home, whatever. But for me, that's what it really comes down to, man. And so I love it, man. Like, I enjoy every step of the process. I'll tell you a quick funny story. So I became a licensed real estate agent coming up 2 years ago in 2021, August or September. So
that means he's official. He's not just out here.
Oh no, we're official, baby. There you go.
Yeah.
So 2008, when the market crashed, housing market crashed. It was things were terrible. My DJ thing was kind of barely going. I was barely going into that company I mentioned earlier. Things just weren't cracking, right? So I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna get licensed in real estate. This is what I want to do. I did my schooling over at Champions Real Estate School, and when I finished my classes, the DJ thing got kind of going, and I put off taking my state exam. I told my wife, I said, you know what? I'm gonna give more energy to the DJ thing. I can get licensed anytime.
Yeah.
Okay. Fast forward 2015. Now we're 3-4 years into business. Jonny Black Productions. Things are rocking and rolling. We're killing it. And I'm like, you know what? Now the business kind of runs itself. I can step away and go get licensed. I thought that I could do that, but when I went to step away, I couldn't, because it was just so much going on that I couldn't get licensed. So fast forward to the pandemic. Pandemic happens, and I'm like, man, now I have a lot of time because the world stopped. But I'm also like, is it even worth getting licensed like now? Like the world stopped. What am I gonna do? And I kept telling my wife jokingly, but I'm like, man, like real estate's never gonna happen for me. Like real estate is kind of like that girl who got away. Like, from '08, we were right there. She got away. 2015, we were almost there. She got away. And I told her, I said, you know what? This was like, I don't know, towards 2020, towards the end of the year. I said, next year in 21, I'm gonna get licensed. I said, even if I don't do anything with my license, I'm gonna get licensed. I'm gonna check this off of my, to-do list of my life because I have to. Otherwise, this is always gonna be there kind of poking me and I don't like it. And I ended up doing it, man. And I honestly wish I would have done it before because I feel that I could have helped so many more clients that we were able to do their weddings for throughout the years, that we could have also helped them on the home ownership side of things. But I mean, everything happens for a reason, man. But I love it, man. I absolutely love it. It's fun. It's rewarding. I mean, it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much that goes into home ownership and just being able to buy a home.
Yeah.
Just kind of based on your experience from the classes back in 2008, you
Eight,
said?
correct.
And your recent certification in 2021. Like, what are I guess what would be one major nugget that you would give to couples? And I can't believe I'm about to mention this because I've done so many Aggie weddings recently, and I went to UT. Shout out to UT, of course, but Aggies thumbs down or whatever y'all do. But shout out to y'all if y'all want to book me for your wedding.
Hey.
But the young Aggie couple that is like, we're getting where we it's our senior year. He proposed. We're getting married. They go off. They have their wedding. Obviously, they were probably living on campus or somewhere close to campus, and now they, are getting ready to start their life together. What would be that one nugget that you would give to them to say, they now need to, a place to stay. They want to live together. Like, what would be that one thing that you would give to them to help them get started on that journey of owning their own home?
Yeah, man. Oh, that's there's a lot of things there. Again, I wouldn't say it's just one, but
Of course.
man, in terms of the process, it's not a hard process. It's you follow certain steps. For the example, first you got to get pre-qualified to see what you can actually afford, right? Because we all want to go live in a luxurious, mansion, but most people can't. So we have to know what we can afford. So we get pre-qualified. That, to make it simple, consists of you go and speak with the lender. I have awesome lenders that I work with hand in hand. I can definitely refer you, or you can find your own. There's no commitment where you have to use only mine. But connect with the lender, figure out what you can afford, and then from there, now we can go and start shopping for whatever it is that you can afford and you like. From there, man, and there's, it's more elaborate, but from there you find your home. Once you find your home, you're typically going to do, your earnest money, which is typically going to be like 1% of the purchase price to kind of lock in that home. You'll do an option fee, which is a couple $100. That'll allow you, let's say 7 to 10 days to do any necessary inspections, which I highly recommend. Even if the home looks brand new, as a matter of fact, even with brand new homes, do an inspection, just because at the end of the day, I'm sure your builders mean well, but they're done by humans. There can always be things that are missed, so you don't want to be stuck with things that were missed that you could have easily, rectified or corrected. So you do your inspection. Inspection comes back. If there's any repairs to be made, make those have those repairs made. And then from there, man, that we go to closing and you get your house. Now, before all that, though, I would say I feel like realtors sometimes, man, like we have a bad reputation because it's almost like realtors have that used car salesman reputation.
Okay.
And it shouldn't be like that, man. Like, while there's probably really bad and sleazy used car salesmen, there's also good ones. Real estate agents, same thing, man. Yeah, there are some agents who are not going to have your best interest in mind, and who are only going to want to look out for their pocket and going to want to get you in the first thing because time is money. And yeah, that's out there. But there's also people like myself and many other awesome agents who are ultimately there to help you achieve whatever your goal may be, whether it's finding a brand new home, whether it's finding a used home that fits your price point, your starter home. There's so many different things, but I feel like connecting with an agent, have a conversation. You know, intuition will tell you a lot. Like if your gut is telling you this doesn't feel right, it probably doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? So I think those things are really important. And then once you find that agent that speaks, you know, your language, so to speak, that you connect with, then go into that whole process I mentioned earlier, where they'll be able to educate you on, you know, getting pre-qualified, finding the property, closing, and all that stuff, man.
That's dope, man. That's dope. That's dope. I'm gonna wrap everything up with a podcast we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
which happens to be a favorite of both of ours, Drink Champs.
Hey, yo.
So shout out to them. And so you were talking a little on the podcast they talk about kind of giving the flowers, right? Like giving the flowers to the guests that they have and just appreciating them. And I think I've pretty much made it clear over the years, but obviously platform or whatever, make it clear that I clearly would not be here in this position, in this DJing position, because I was okay first, you know what I mean, but I would not be where I am now if it wasn't for Jonny Black and Jonny Black Productions. And so I greatly appreciate you. And so I got some flowers for you.
Hey, yo. That's what I'm talking about.
Now here's the crazy thing about the flowers. They're a little pink.
That's all right.
But I was thinking, here you go.
Appreciate that.
I was thinking about we were talking about Snoop, right? And I was like, okay, well, Jonny Black, he's the boss, and Rick Ross, he talks about the Black Bottle Boys. So it's not the most expensive, but a nice little black bottle, for you, and obviously the missus that has sacrificed just as much to have you out there week in, week out, and teaching guys like me and growing guys like me. So, I greatly appreciate you and everything that you've brought to, the wedding industry and to this household. And so, to everybody out there, if you need a house, I need you to go to Jonny Black. If you need a DJ, I need you to go to Jonny Black. If he's not available, then you can come and see me. Come and see me. All right.
I love it, man.
But yeah, man. Thank you, of course, for being on the show. And to tell everybody where they can find you for everything.
I definitely will, but can I answer?
Oh, go ahead.
Can I answer you? So thank you. First things first, man. Thank you for the dope rose, Ricky Rose bottle. I appreciate that. Also, thank you for your kind words, man. I know we're on the show, but you and I talk, on the phone quite a bit, and we connect a lot. But the platform is the way to do it. Man, I also want to thank you, and also the guys like yourself who have helped me grow throughout the years, man, because at the end of the day, there's no Jonny Black Productions without the team that's been there to lay the foundation down and put in that hard work and all that, man. So thank you for that. One other thing that I would add, man, is the word help, going back to it. I think probably one thing that I enjoy even more than getting behind the turntables and getting busy is helping others, man. And I think you kind of you put a 10 on the 2. Like, I don't think it was like that. You were gonna be here whether I was a part of it or not. I just sprinkled a little bit of salt and pepper on it, but you already had the recipe going, right? But being able to sprinkle that little bit of salt and pepper, whatever it may have been, I love that, man. Like, I really do. There's guys who have in over the 12 years now, who have been through here, who some I keep in touch with, some, life happens and we get busy and we don't talk as often. But man, like the fact that I was able to contribute just that little, grain of salt to everyone's growth and development and moving towards wherever they want to move to in life, like that makes me happy, man. The same way that sweaty hug is I love it. The same way being at that closing table with that couple, handing them their keys, like I love that, man. And I promise, man, like, what is it they say? At the bottom, it's competition. At the top, it's collaboration. Like, dog, I'm so, I can't cuss on here. I'm so happy. I'm so proud. Like, dog, I'm rooting for you, man. Like, hey, call Jonny Black first. Nah, call me. Call DJ Chosen, man. Like, this guy's phenomenal. Like, you're gonna be in great shape. And then whenever, for those people that do call us, and for whatever reason, like, we're collaborating, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so yeah. It's all love, man. And again, thank you for the flowers. Thank you for your kind words, man. But also thank you for contributing those grains of salt in my journey as well.
Absolutely, man. Tell them where they can find you.
No doubt. So as far as our company, Jonny Black Productions, we're at Jonny Black Productions, Instagram, Facebook. Honestly, we need to get on TikTok, but we're not. I feel like, I'm just.
I struggle with TikTok.
Yeah, it's just I'm just
I'm
not
old.
there. Word up. And then myself, you can follow me. I believe I am. Oh God, I should know my handle. I believe I am.
It's Jonny Black HTX, I believe.
There you go. Is there an underscore?
I think so. I don't know.
Man, yeah. So this is old people problems, but let me tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you right now. So it's gonna be that's it. So it's going to be Jonny Black, no H, JONNY, Black _ HTX. Give me a follow. Also on that one, just real quick, man, I try to post a little bit of everything. So on that one, just kind of, tread lightly. You'd be surprised. You can see me DJing one day. You can see me selling houses one day. You can see me with my son at basketball. You can see me on the pit, or you can see me turning up. I don't know what's going to happen, but just it's all, I try to put my life out there on that one. So give me a follow if you're not doing so already.
Bet. This has been another episode of the Weddings and Wine podcast. Thank you so much. Of course, follow Jonny on all of his social media. Check out the amazing website. Check out all of the amazing things that he is doing. Hopefully everybody was informed or caught one of these gems. And of course, if you ever have any questions, reach out to us. But thank you for another amazing episode. And as always, cheers.